All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the epic saga of Jumong. And look, if you think ancient history is just, armies clashing on a muddy battlefield, well, prepare to have your mind completely changed. Because it turns out, building an ancient empire was really all about mastering trade and wars, securing critical supply chains, and literally revolutionizing metallurgy. So, let's just dig right in.
So it begs the question, right? What actually wins ancient wars? Is it swords or is it supply chains? As we're going to see, the greatest martial arts skills in the world mean absolutely nothing if you can't actually feed or arm your troops. This whole story fundamentally flips the script on that classic lone warrior hero trope, replacing it with the gritty reality of economic warfare and sheer logistical supremacy. To unpack all of this, we're going to track Jumong's journey across 5 key beats. First up, the succession crisis. Then, the salt blockade. Third, the merchant alliance. Fourth, the secret of iron. And finally, the stateless rebel. Okay, part 1. The succession crisis, a divided court. It is just absolutely fascinating to see the dramatic contrast Jumong leverages when he comes back to the palace. See, he's secretly leveled up into a true martial arts master, but he chooses to hide this lethal competence behind his old, well-known cowardly persona. It's honestly a brilliant piece of political camouflage. But when King Gemwa realizes his sons are tearing the court apart and officially opens up the competition for crown prince, well, everything is about to change. Because the king makes it crystal clear. The throne is not just some prize for the best swordsmen. No, the princes have to prove their worth across the whole spectrum of leadership. We're talking combat, sure, but also diplomacy, statecraft, and economic problem solving. And it's right here that Jumong finally drops the act. He completely shocks the court with his strategic brilliance. But, and this is a big but, by finally showing his true hand, he instantly paints a massive political target on his own back.
Which brings us to part 2, the salt blockade, economic warfare.
In the ancient world, controlling the supply chain was just as crucial as it is today. The Han Empire sees Buyo growing a bit too independent, so they decide to flex their muscles. And they don't do it with swords. They do it with a brutal economic blockade. They completely cut off Buyo's primary supply of salt. And without salt, the army is literally paralyzed. They can't preserve food for campaigns, and the civilian population faces an immediate, devastating survival crisis. And you really have to notice the stark difference in leadership styles under this kind of intense pressure. Princess Daiso and young Po immediately look for political band-aid, basically groveling to the Han Empire to appease them. But Jumong? He takes a massive swing. He actually embarks on this perilous expedition to find an entirely independent, unmapped mountain source of salt. By securing this new supply, he completely shatters the Han embargo through pure innovation. It's a real game changer for Buya. Moving on to part 3, the Merchant Alliance, Sosowen's network. So to navigate these incredibly complex trade wars, Jumong realizes he needs a partner. Enter Soziono, the fiercely ambitious daughter of the Gehub merchant clan. And let me tell you, she is no traditional princess. The woman is an absolute master of logistics. She brings the whole shebang: massive merchant caravans, river fleets, smuggling networks, cross-border intelligence. Pretty much overnight, her clan's operational capacity becomes Jumong's single most valuable asset. Because at the end of the day, military might is nothing without logistical backing. And what's wild is that a deep romance actually blossoms between Jumong and Sosiono here, creating this ultimate ancient power couple that is fundamentally built on mutual respect and shared ambition. Together, they prove for sure that strategic trade agreements and rock-solid supply chains literally have the power to alter the fate of nations. All right, part 4, the secret of iron, the arms race. So the Han Empire is maintaining this terrifying grip over the entire region, and they're doing it through a strict monopoly on advanced metallurgy. They are mass-producing these lightweight, shatter-resistant steel weapons that just slice right through Buyo's armor during border skirmishes. Now, while Prince Deoso is out there trying to steal their secrets through espionage and political marriages, Jumong, entirely true to form, decides to innovate from within. He actually teams up with Mo Palmo, the armory chief, to crack this monopoly themselves. It's basically ancient R&D. They set up a secret forge away from prying eyes and just grind through agonizing trial and error. And then, the massive breakthrough. They discover this highly specific type of mud that allows their forge to reach incredibly high temperatures. With that single, crucial innovation, they successfully forge their own shatter-resistant steel. They permanently break the Han's technological dominance. Finally, we arrive at part 5, the stateless rebel, a fateful decision.
Now, despite all of these massive contributions, Jumong is still up against deep-rooted political corruption backing Boyo. Prince Daeso actually manages to outmaneuver him, seizing total control of the military and forcing King Gumwa out of power. And Jumong is hit with a really hard truth. If he stays bound to this corrupt, Han-appeasing system, it's going to completely destroy his father's dream. Just look at how the power fractures at this critical moment. Jumong makes the incredibly heavy decision to officially leave the palace, entirely severing his royal privileges. So Daeso gets to keep the fancy palace and, of course, the corrupt politics. But Jumong? He walks away with the actual tangible assets you need to run a nation. So Seona's unparalleled logistical networks, cutting-edge steel technology, and a core group of fiercely loyal followers. Armed with merchant fleets and the absolute bleeding edge of new weaponry, Jumong crosses that threshold from a comfortable prince to a stateless rebel. He heads out into the wilderness with one crystal-clear mission: resurrect his father's legacy and rebuild the legendary Damul army from the ground up. I mean, he's basically got all the ingredients of a sovereign state right there in his pocket. He just doesn't have the borders yet. And that really brings us to the core of this whole explainer. Jumong lost the comfort of the palace, yeah? But he gained the technological and logistical foundation of an entire nation. It really makes you rethink how history is actually made, doesn't it? It's all about ancient innovation, supply chains, and trade. So how will these raw assets translate into the birth of an entirely new empire? Well, I'm going to leave you to ponder that one. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and we will catch you next time.